The man who came into my gas station at 3:47 a.m. on October 14th paid for his coffee with a fistful of nickels. Every single one of them was minted in 1962. And I'm telling you this story because 2 weeks later, I found out he died in 1963. I worked the night shift at a Citgo station off Highway 64 in rural North Carolina for 8 months. I quit on October 15th, 2019. By the end of this video, you're going to understand why I haven't worked a night shift since, why I keep 3 locks on my front door, and why, if a man ever walks into your store and pays in old coins, you should let him take whatever he wants and pretend you never saw him. This is what happened on my last night. Let me set the scene for you. The Citgo I worked at sat on a stretch of Highway 64, about 12 miles outside of a town called Hayesville. The nearest other building was a Baptist church 2 miles east. After 10 p.m., you could go 3-4 hours without seeing a single car. I worked the shift from 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. 4 nights a week, $12 an hour. I took the job because I was 22, broke, and the quiet was good for studying. The previous night clerk had quit without notice 3 weeks before I started. The owner, a guy named Roy, wouldn't tell me why. He just said, "Don't open the back door for anyone, even if they show a badge. And if the lights flicker more than once, lock the front and don't unlock it again until 6 a.m. I thought he was joking. He wasn't. The job was boring for the first 6 months. I read textbooks. I stocked shelves. Occasionally, a trucker would come through for cigarettes. Once a sheriff stopped in for coffee at 4 a.m., and we talked about the Carolina Panthers. The first weird thing happened in early September. I started seeing the same man in the security camera feed, not in the store, outside. He'd appear in the parking lot in the camera that pointed at pump 3, always between 3 and 4 a.m., always wearing the same outfit, a tan work coat, dark pants, a brown driver's cap, pulled low over his face. He'd just stand there, sometimes for 10 minutes, sometimes for 20. Then he'd walk off camera and not come back. The strange part, there was never a car at pump 3. He just appeared, stood there, disappeared. The first few times I saw it, I went outside. There was never anyone there. The parking lot was empty. After the 5th time, I stopped going outside. By October, he was inside. Not coming in, just inside. I'd look up from my textbook and he'd be standing in aisle 4, the one with the motor oil. Same coat, same cap, head tilted slightly down. The bell on the front door had not rung. The first time it happened, I think I just froze. I watched him for maybe 30 seconds. He didn't move. He didn't breathe. I was watching for his shoulders to rise and fall, and they didn't. Then he turned, walked to the back of the store, and stepped out of view behind the chip rack. I waited 5 minutes, 10 minutes. I finally got up. I checked aisle 4. Empty. I checked the whole store. Empty. The back door was locked from the inside, the way I'd left it. I rewound the security footage. The cameras didn't see him. The cameras saw me sitting at the counter, staring at aisle 4 for 10 minutes, like I was hypnotized. There was no man in aisle 4. There was no movement at all. I called Roy that morning. I told him what happened. He was quiet for a long time. Then he said, "He's getting closer. You should quit." I asked him what he meant. He said, "Just quit, son. I'll find someone else. You don't want to be there when he asks for something. I didn't quit. I needed the money. I should have quit. October 14th, my last night. It had been a quiet shift. No customers since midnight. I was reading a chapter on organic chemistry. The wall clock said 3:47 a.m. The bell on the door rang. I looked up. It was him. Tan coat, dark pants, brown driver's cap. He was standing just inside the door, like he'd just walked in normally. But this time he was solid, real. I could see the texture of the coat fabric. I could see a small stain on the left lapel. He walked slowly, deliberately, to the coffee station. He poured himself a cup of coffee. Black, no sugar. He walked to the counter. I couldn't move. I couldn't speak. He set the coffee down on the counter and reached into his coat pocket. He pulled out a fistful of coins and set them down next to the cup. I looked at them. Nickels. All nickels. He said, "That should cover it." His voice was, I don't know how to describe it, like it was coming from inside a long pipe. Hollow, wet at the edges. I nodded. I think I said, "Thank you." I don't remember. He picked up the coffee. He turned. He walked out. The bell rang as the door closed. I sat there for maybe a full minute before I looked down at the coins. Every single one was a 1962 Jefferson nickel. Every single one. They were tarnished, old, real, and underneath them, on the counter, there was a folded piece of paper. He had left it there. The paper was old, yellowed, soft at the edges the way paper gets after decades in a drawer. I unfolded it. It was a newspaper clipping from the Cherokee Scout, dated November 4th, 1963. The headline read, "Local man found dead at Highway 64 service station." The article was short. A man named Carl Whitaker, age 41, had been working the overnight shift at a service station on Highway 64. He was found dead behind the counter on the morning of November 3rd, 1963. Cause of death was listed as cardiac arrest, but the article said something else. It said that the previous owner had reported in the weeks leading up to Carl's death that a man in a tan coat had been seen on the property at night, a man who could not be identified, a man who left on one occasion a fistful of old coins on the counter. Carl had been told to quit. Carl had not quit. Below the article, in pencil and faded handwriting, someone had written, "I'm sorry." I tried to warn the next one. Signed, Carl Whitaker. I drove home as the sun came up. I left the coins on the counter. I left the clipping. I left my apron, my textbook, my coffee mug, and the keys to the store. I called Roy from my apartment at 7 a.m. and told him I quit. He didn't seem surprised. I asked him, finally, what had happened to the previous clerk, the one who quit before me. Roy was quiet for a long time. Then he said, "He didn't quit. He didn't show up one morning. We found his car still in the lot. He was inside the store, behind the counter. Heart attack, 26 years old." I asked, "What date did that happen?" Roy said November 3rd, same night every time. Every time it happens, it's November 3rd. I never went back. I never drove down Highway 64 again. I moved to Asheville 6 months later, finished my degree, and got a job that lets me sleep at night with my wife and my dog, and my 3 locks on the front door. The Citgo closed in 2021. Roy retired. The building is still there, empty, with the pumps removed and the windows boarded up. I looked it up on Google Maps once. But here's the part that I still don't have an answer for. Last week, 11 days ago, I found a folded piece of paper in my coat pocket. I don't own a tan coat. I haven't worn that coat from the gas station in 7 years, but it was in my jacket pocket, the jacket I'd worn to work that morning. It's a newspaper clipping. I haven't been able to find the paper it came from yet. The headline reads, "Local man, 29, found dead in Asheville home." The date on the clipping is November 3rd, 2025. That's 12 days from now. I'm 29 years old. If you live near a stretch of empty highway, and if you work a job that puts you alone in a building between the hours of 3 and 4 a.m., listen to me. If a man in a tan coat ever comes in, and if he ever pays you in coins that are older than he could possibly be, don't take the coins. Don't take the note. Just close the store, lock the doors, walk out, and never come back. In my next video, I'm going to tell you what happened when I tried to find the family of Carl Whitaker, what I found in his obituary, and the photograph that was attached to it, a photograph of a man I'd seen before, standing in aisle 4. Subscribe so you don't miss it. And if you've ever experienced something like this, leave it in the comments. I read every one, especially the ones from people who work the night shift.